Good evening. This video is titled The Evolution of My Views on the Age of the Earth and Darwinism. My name is Ryan D. Grone. I'm a retired United States Marine Corps Lance Corporal. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes while serving in the Marine Corps in 1993. Now, the first thing that I guess I want to say about this is the title of the video is a little bit misleading because in my view, actually nothing evolves. The Earth is in a state of decay, and it has been since the fall. Nothing evolves. It's like the unwinding of a clock. It's like slowly winding down, and as time goes on, the Earth just continues. The entire state of humanity, of the planet, everything is in a gradual state of decay, and eventually given enough time, it would completely, I don't know, it would eventually completely devolve to a point where nothing existed and existence would cease to be. Before that happens, there's going to be some, I don't know how to put this exactly for you guys. Before that happens, there's going to be an intervention, I guess you could say. So anyway, I guess maybe a more appropriate title for this video might be the change in time, the change over time in my views on the age of the Earth and Darwinism. But I'm going to leave it with the original title because that's I think that'll probably get more attention. So I guess basically my view on the age of the Earth started out, when I was, from what I learned in Sunday school, and I guess I hadn't been exposed to any other information or any other viewpoint, so I just pretty much took it at face value and believed that the Earth was, I didn't know exactly, but I mean, it didn't seem like it could be very old. And as far as my views on any sort of evolution, I wasn't even aware that that was a viewpoint that anybody held, because the first time I was taught anything about the origin of the universe or the planet or species of any kind was what I was taught in Sunday school. And obviously, for those of you who know what I mean by Sunday school, you probably know about what I was taught, at least, that about 6,000 years ago, God created the heavens and the earth. He did it so over a period of 7 days, and he created each individual species after its own kind, and he did it in a short period of time, 7 days to be exact. And if you go back through the Bible, and you trace all that back, you end up with an age of the Earth of about, what would it be now? 6,017 years old. According to Bishop Usher, the Earth came into existence sometime during October of it'd be 6,019 years old. So 4004 BC was when the Earth was created, according to Bishop Usher, and he was able to arrive at this conclusion by reading the Bible. So that's where I started out. I suppose it wasn't that detailed or specific, but I mean that was generally what I believed at the time. So that would have made me a young Earth creationist. Now, and the funny thing about that is that didn't really change a whole lot for a long time. And as far as any kind of evolution is concerned, I mean, it's just the evolutionary narrative isn't the same the Darwinian narrative at all. And so, in contradistinction, and let me also make a clarification at this point. I do believe that there are a lot of very sincere, genuine Christians, that people of goodwill and of Christian character that are saved and going that we'll see in heaven, and then we'll like know who was right or wrong. And another thing about this question is it's an interesting question. I think it's an important question, but it's maybe, but it's not central or fundamental to what it means to be a Christian. I think that people that don't see this the way I do can end up running into some problems that I don't have to worry about. But that doesn't mean that, and I could, but that doesn't mean that I don't think that I'm definitively, that I could say definitively that I could prove that I'm right and they're wrong, or that it's something that's a defining belief for Christianity. And I think if you talk to most theologians that I would be willing to dialogue with or listen to, I think that they would agree with that your view on the age of the earth, or your view on your belief in evolution isn't something that you have to believe a certain way to be able to define yourself as a Christian. Now, having said that, in contradistinction from the view that I initially held as a little kid about, I was essentially, like I say, a young Earth creationist, versus some other views out there, as in theistic evolution. In particular, there's some people out there that think that God did create the heavens and the earth, but that evolution was the mechanism that he used, or the mechanism by which he created the universe. And I can't say that I ever really held that view that I can remember. I know that all the way going into, like, say, second grade, where I had been exposed to not just Sunday school teachers, but other types, secular. I was beginning to get my secular education. That all the way into second grade, everything that I learned up until at least second grade was probably wasn't anything that would contradict what I'd been taught in Sunday school. In fact, I remember in second grade, and it was one of those times and places where we were at the end of an era, and it was like probably mostly gone everywhere else in the United States, but in this tiny little corner in northeast Nebraska, where we were still using these 1950s textbooks, and I had this old lady as a second grade teacher. Her name was Mrs. Gustafson, and I remember distinctly being taught about that Lamarckism. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that, but the Lamarckism is totally debunked and not true, which is Lamarck was a scientist who had a theory that acquired traits could be passed on from generation to generation, and he was essentially the evolutionist before Darwin. I mean, that was the going theory among people that didn't want to believe in God, or didn't want to believe